Hello, guys, and welcome to the final part of this wonderful series. I know it flashed by really fast, but everyone's been mentioning it. Yeah, I went crazy with this series. I went very fast, and for good reason. I just couldn't help myself. This series is too awesome. But yeah, enjoy the last part. I'm gonna try to put out a full story later. If y'all want me to, put it down below in the comments and ask me. Tell me that you want a full story. If you don't, I don't have to do it. Just go check out the playlist. And without any further ado, let's get into the massacre. Don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the notification bell to stay up to date on all my future videos, and I hope you will enjoy the rage of a Satoru. Let's begin. Let's begin with Asta escaping death and teleporting back, as his presence would then be felt not only through the whole Clover Kingdom, but through the entire world, meaning many kingdoms would be aware of the monster that has arrived. He would then kill Veto, but let Licht Fauna and Licht stay alive, and it all ends with Asta teleporting them away and then going back to give Noel a hug. Returning back to the Black Bull base, everyone then scolds Asta, but are happy that he's alive, and he also told Henry that he could cure his curse, and also reveals Gray's true form. But the day after they all reconvene and Asta was talking to Gray about healing him for real, they were attacked by cursed beasts of unknown nature that were way stronger than anything that they had ever fought before. However, Asta kills them like it was nothing, right as everyone would be shocked and Julius would arrive to talk, and Asta proceeds to copy Mimosa's magic but amplify it to kind of refix the destroyed forest, because of the beast. And they would talk as Asta would learn the truth about his family's tragic end, but Asta chooses not to destroy everything because that would not solve anything, even though he really wants to kill that annoying ass king. The next day, he's then brought in to help with some either Midnight Sun members that were being questioned, and after canceling the spell on them, he teleports downtown to the Clover capital. He meets Rebecca as they essentially go on a date, and all those who saw the young man were happy and shocked as they had seen him before, but last time he was bleeding out, so it's a big contrast. Afterwards, the bulls are then sent to the water temple. Noelle trains as hard as she can. Her and Asta meet Kahono before then rejoining her in the sea on the water temple. The group then fights, excluding Asta, of course, because he's far too strong, as well as Yami. And then they return with the stone, as Asta says that he will head to do something crazy soon. So let's begin this part with a skip to the very next day after the stone was retrieved, as the streets of the Clover capital will be filled with commoners and nobles alike. What are we doing here today? I heard there was this big announcement that people will be saying. People of the kingdom, welcome. Everyone then looks up and begins to cheer at the arrival of Julius, while his face would then be shown to all of them with marks of magic. I have indeed gathered all of you here because there is something I must tell you. You must have felt it. I know you have. That great presence that resides in our kingdom. Oh, he's going to talk about who's letting out all that mana? They all get excited to know who this person is because it's almost instinctive, but they felt a great presence marching on the streets, and it feels violent yet so calm, so they want to know if they might even be in danger of it. The screen would then switch to show a certain scene, that of a wandering white-haired boy through the barren lands past the walls, leaving everyone gasping. He's just gonna go out there? The screen, however, would then switch to show everyone Asta's face as they would all be starstruck, and clapping his hands together, he would then release a bountiful amount of mana. Bizarrely, everyone feels it, and they wonder if this is happening right now. This is live footage of Asta of the Black Bulls on his mission, said Julius. The pressure from his release past the walls can be felt from the kingdom, which leaves them all shocked, and this mana would then gather many beasts towards him as he actually would, march towards them. And standing in these barren lands, he then starts to stare down the horde of beasts of all categories, and even a giant one, causing him to smile. Time to try some new stuff. Limitless magic. His grimoire would then fly before him to show a new spell. The book did not show it to him or give it to him this time, however. He made it himself. It was a representation of his very being. Right as the horde reaches him, a hellhound-looking one will be the first to attack, only to just freeze midair. Yoiki Tenkai. Murio Kusho. His mana would then spread, filling the sky and bare lands with stars and a void-like space, which would freeze every single beast in their path, right as Asta would then lunge forward, grabbing and ripping off the head of the hound before he then comes down with an axe kick to the giant cursed beast. It would be split in half, while many slashes of red would then crash down from above and rip through the beast, and with a giant smirk, he would just continue to rampage through them, leaving all those present completely silent. Trust me, I understand the feeling. You're watching a boy, rarely even a young man, decimate through a horde of great zero cursed beasts, thought Julius. It's insane. The massacre would then soon come to a stop, however, as a giant dust cloud is then made out of it, and Asta would then walk out of it, dragging the giant head of a great zero cursed beast, and it would be akin to a kind of cyclops. Clenching his fist, he then crushes the head to nothingness using his infinity, where he then turns to face the makeshift camera that he had recording him. He made it himself. By the way, I ain't doing this for you. I just want to loosen up a little bit. Take care of yourselves without me. He then crushes the camera, cutting out the recording, and everyone will be exploding into tears as they cannot believe what they were seeing. He was incredible, he was inconceivable, and he was on their side. Oh my god, no more walls. We'll finally be able to travel. We don't have to watch our backs anymore. We can live. Long live the Black Bulls! Long live Asta! They would then start to cheer his name, and Julius would then bow, saying that this does not mean that they should rest at all. This is our chance to make our kingdom better, to go after those terrorists who have attacked us. We have to honor the fight that young man is waging, even though it may not be to benefit us specifically. Yeah, he did seem kind of overly rambunctious. What do you expect? He's young, the people will be saying. But they all agree that they must make the kingdom better, making Julius then clear his throat, saying, Asta, believe it or not, is a commoner. They're all surprised to hear this as they start to mumble about it, and some try to even deny it, but Julius says no, he's not a noble. But after his achievements, he will undoubtedly be given the title of one. This has been approved by the king. From this day forth, one shall be given land and resources upon showing their worth. It's not just about being a noble, it's about being secure, and your fair king wishes to give you this chance. What do you say? They all scream in agreement because this means if they try hard enough, maybe they can have even better lives. And with this, Julius had done his job, and he and Marsh then start heading back, and they tell everyone to get ready for the new future. As they head down a hall, Marsh would then say, with this, Asta will not go on a rampage. He wouldn't regardless. I figured I'd be dead if he was committed to revenge to that point. He understood the power his strength holds, and now we can focus on the Eye of the Midnight Sun. He would then walk to and enter his throne room, and we would see all the squads lined up at the side, and they would bow upon his arrival. He takes a seat in his throne, while Marsh would then stand by his side. You can stand, said Julius. As they do, Charlotte would then ask, is it true that we know the location of the terrorists? Indeed, Asta has given me a location, the Grand Mana Zone of the Gravito Belt. Grand Mana Zone, it makes sense, said Nozel. Then what are we to do? Julius then says that they will be on the hunt for the stones that the other organization is after. And it's a good thing to have you back once again to help in your brother's absence, Meriliona. With a scoff, the Crimson Lioness would then say, no problem. Without that brat around, those bastards are going to try and move in on our turf. Raising his hand, however, Langus would then be called upon, as he then asks, what exactly does that Asta plan to do? Looking a bit nervous, Julius then said that Asta was going to seal all the cursed beasts, which left everyone stupefied. He found an actual method? Astil, that's awesome. Yes, it's a special type of barrier, but in holding back those beasts holds a condition. While it prevents any from leaving the barriers, it also allows us to enter them. So we must not approach them lest we get mauled to death, okay? With the gulp, they cannot believe what is really happening, and this is really happening. And Agdora would then ask where the bulls even are, to which Julius would then say they've already been sent on their next mission to bring the stone belonging to the witch forest. It's time for all of you to get to work as well. They all agree. Meanwhile, we then find the bulls heading to the witch's forest, while accompanied by Kruger, his wife Domina, and his student named Mariella, and she used to be part of the Diamond Kingdom, all that stuff. Now, as they fly to the forest, they come to see these giant black domes deep within the walls. So your student did all of that? Domina asked. Pretty amazing, huh? Said Kruger. Yeah, it's still weird to say. I never thought that brat would pull out something like this. How did you even meet Asta? Asked Luck. One day I was just walking around, sensed some magic clashing, and found him about to be killed by Grey 2. He was mad at me for saving him. Yeah, that sounds just like him. Well, it would, but now he's too strong, said Noel. That's why you idiots gotta surpass your limits, Yami said. Yes, Captain, they'd say. Good. But, are you good? He looks to Vanessa, who looked a tad more serious, and said that she was fine. I had to always come back one day. I'm just glad it's with you guys. They then continue on their flight and quickly reach the forest. However, upon doing so, they are then not met by witches or a defensive golem, but the queen herself, and they halt as they are surprised, and the queen would then seethe with anger. You're that man. Oh, it's been a while, old hag, said Yami. As they get ready for a confrontation, we then go back to Asta, who enters the frozen grounds of the Spade Kingdom already, and yet, due to his infinity, he did not feel anything, and he had a big smile on his face. His smile will then grow when he senses the signature of many dark disciples coming his way. Aw, you guys are too kind. He dashes forward and appears right before the horde as he punches and forms incredibly dense red orbs, and the disciples are terrified to feel his power up close, right as they're ripped apart by the attacks and turned to nothing. Not even their ashes remain, while Asta will then walk forward, and he finds more of them coming, so with the snap of his finger he creates purple orbs and sends many more at them. Now this is what being strong is for, he'd think. The orbs then attack and shake the very kingdom even from where Asta is, and quickly the worried citizens then run into their homes, even at the risk of angering the dark disciples, who would fill the streets and kick their doors open, tell them to open up because it's time for their daily taxes, they're extorting them, the type of stuff. However, as one does so, he's then squashed to nothing and screams as all the others then turn to see Asta arrive, and a huge pressure that brings them down to their knees right before they are crushed by it, literally, and Asta would then fly into the air. Get the hell out here before I make you, he'd yell, as the screams would then shatter the mirrors and all the glass in the huge castle before him. A spatial portal is then created from behind, and he then turns to see Zenon, who enters his 80% state, and he then blitzes Asta and creates a spatial bone sword that he swings down that cuts through space, but upon it hitting the boy, he feels that the attack did not reach and sees that it did not. Asta does not look visibly hurt at all. He then backs away asking, how is this possible? Well, you didn't touch me. You touched her. Whoa! He then ducks, avoiding a giant steel lance from Vanica, who flies him with a barrage of many more of these lances. And Asta will then turn as he taps the tip of one as it reaches him, and it is crushed, and right as are the others, right as Vanica is then hit to the stomach by the Infinity and sent flying into the castle. Anyway, what I was saying is, you touched my Infinity, said Asta. My magic allows me to bring the concept of Infinity into existence. You're not being stopped, you're just attacking forever. That's not even spatial magic, that's the power of a god, thought Zenon. Realizing he will never win this way, he then makes a deal with this devil, as he would then change an aura and intent, becoming more devilish, and Asta would then notice the change. You'd really sell your heart just to beat me? I'm flattered. The power of gravity then hits his Infinity at this moment, with Dante then flying in with a smile. You're not human. I like it. Dante, you better use everything lest you wish to die, said Zenon. I possess the king of devils, said Dante. Don't compare me to you. But looking forward, he then saw Asta was gone, right as something then goes through his torso, and he looks down to see Asta holding out his heart from his body before he then crushes it, and as he spews blood, Dante would then explode to many pieces. As the blood splatters, however, Asta is not hit by any of it. Matter of fact, even just putting his hand through, Dante did not leave any blood on him because of Infinity, and Asta would just clap his hands together, saying, "Oh, I think your sister's running away." With a scowl, the devil possessed and readies his magic. I never expected much from my family. This has only made it more obvious. Asta, while he does want to kill this guy, legitimately feels bad, and that doesn't mean that he wasn't going to take him out, but he just felt bad for him. But he had to take care of Vanica first and had to wait as he disappeared and appeared back. Okay, let's get to it. He just killed her like a chore, thought Zenon. Now it's just you and me. I don't want to make you jealous. He then sent flying by the Infinity and crashed into a mountain as Asta flies to him while people slowly walk out from their homes, and those who have the ability to sense mana, which is all of them, cannot believe what just happened. Are we finally going to be free? We're finally going to return to normal. As the two forces battle out near the snowy mountains, Sora Ralph would then watch from the outskirts of the kingdom, flabbergasted, but now he had a chance to leave, and quickly he then ran out while infusing himself with mana skin, when he then soon finds Asta's previous battlefield. All those dark disciples. God help us, he thought. He then continued on his way and returned to the, back to his journey towards the Clover Kingdom. If you don't know who this guy is, he's the guy who tells Juno about his true self, his true past. Now we're going to return to the Witch's Forest, and an hour had passed, or elapsed, my bad, with Yami then clashing his sword against Fauna Salamander, and she creates and shoots a fireball to kill Yami, who knew he had to face this head on. I'm going to borrow a move from you real quick, Asta. As the fireball reaches him, he then holds up the sword and concentrates everything into it as he slashes down and surpasses his limits truly. Dark magic. Dimensional cut. Space itself is then cut and distorted in half as the fireball then disperses while Fauna is then reached and cleaved in half. She would then gush with blood and scream as she is split apart and feels even more rage, not being able to avenge her fallen brethren. I hate humans. I hate humans. I hate them. I hate them. I hate them. I hate them. She would then slowly die with the battle then being over, and Yami would then sheath his sword and smile. Man, he is gonna hate me for that, but mine's cooler anyway. The Blood Bulls will be fighting the Midnight Sun members and the Diamond Mages with the help of some witches, and that is when Mars starts to switch allegiances. When he sees Lardros attack his previous master's wife. As he holds up the witch, the Diamond Mage has his arm then ripped off by Mars, who then appears beside him and pries him away from Domina. Seeing this, Kruger then breathes a sigh of relief, saying, "Thank you. I simply want to try and protect for once," said Mars. Domina then thanks him, and she runs to Mariella, who was hurt much like Kruger, and every witch that was surrounding them, and try to stand in Lardros' way. Upon this happening, Luck would then arrive, clad in lightning armor. "Ooh, you're that guy. Let's fight." No, wait, he's gonna help us now," said Kruger. "Ah, fine. Then he's the enemy." He would then point to Lardros, who begins to laugh. "I can't believe you're doing this now. After everything we've been through? After everything you've done?" Mars doesn't say anything because he knows what has happened and he can't change that, but he wants to try and go forward a different way and wants to push on using his own way like Asta has been. And he then actually asks, "Where is your friend?" That presence, that was him, right? Luck would then say Asta went to Spade, but he's still waiting for another fight, which brings a smile to Mars, but he says that he can never compare now. Ladros then attacks and a group would encounter, and in their fight, Ladros is beaten when Yami would then eventually land a blow and cut him also in half. He was too dangerous in Yami's eyes. He's not Asta's type of character, honestly. Like, if you're just gonna pose a threat, he will kill you. He always talks about killing niggas, so this makes sense. But upon learning of Fauna's death as well, Mars is shattered. They then go get the stone from the queen. She did try something, but Grey and Vanessa used their powers, with Grey then turning her blood to flowers, while the red cat made the queen just trip and, mess up with her magic. Mars then got a potion from the queen meant to trick the Spade Kingdom king and help him take over and make things just better so things can never happen to other kids like it happened to his friends, and just like he wants to protect everyone. "Tell Asta we'll meet again when I'm complete," said Mars as he flew to the skies and headed home. "Well, let's go, shall we?" said Yami. "I gotta take They then use the brooms and fly off while the other squads are getting the stones. They're also doing their jobs. They head back to the Clover Kingdom. And this version of events, there are 12 stones needed for, the whole reincarnation thing. So the other squads get more action. I just want to put that in. We're actually going to pay attention to the favorite trio of the Golden Dawn, the only trio we care about in the Golden Dawn, that being, Klaus and Mimosa. They find the wall of Viltu was ruptured, and there'd be giant walls made of magic that took their place, completely black. And they also came across, the what's it called? They found that the places where beasts respawn just didn't respawn anymore, and there was also domes over there. Yeah, I'm just gonna put it like that. Belle would then scream, "What kind of monster is this Asta guy?" "Calm down," said I'm well aware. "I can't believe this is how far the gap has widened," said Klaus. "Yeah, but it's Asta, so it doesn't feel..." "Okay, yeah, this is too much," said Mimosa. "Yeah, but if I can reach even a little bit close to that high of power, becoming Wizard King won't be far-fetched," said "Yeah, but how do you do this?" asked Klaus. And Yuno then freezing the steps, realizing that this is the only thing that Asta literally needs to be already hailed as Wizard King. He basically is. He literally solved a problem that people have been trying to solve for years by literally just going out, crusading, and destroying these bastards. And he would then say, "Crap. No, it's okay, we'll get stronger. That's what I'm here for," said Belle. And with a nod, then says he'll try to stay positive, but you just can't wait to see the new Asta, It's been a while. Now we will return to the Spade Kingdom as the battle has passed and the era of devils has been ceased, and the hero of the kingdom will go to meet Noct in what was the meeting room for the royal family previously. As Noct stands across from the boy, his devils dare not come out, feeling as though he will kill them, and Asta with a smile. "So, you're the Vice Cap. Captain Yami loves you. Please don't flatter me. I'm surprised Yami got someone like you to begin with. I guess he's just lucky. So, what happens now? The royal family must be gone, huh?" Nathan actually says that a messenger has already reached the Clover Kingdom by this point, and Asta would then ask, "Are you insinuating something?" I mean, I did sense him, but what does that mean exactly? Now he then asks for someone to come in, and in then comes a woman with two guards, and Asta then becomes wide-eyed as he then takes off his glasses, and everyone present would then be off guard, by the eyes, but Asta would then bow. "I never thought I'd meet Yuno's mom here." "How did you know? Do you know my son?" asked Ciel. Standing straight, Asta would then say that they're rivals, but you don't have much time left. "A curse, huh?" These words then worry and sadden the guards because they didn't even know, and Noct would then say, "I guess it is a curse then. We didn't know what it is until now. She hasn't aged a day." Asta would then approach her and inspect her body, with Noct then asking what he's sensing and seeing, and Asta would then say, "I don't even know what or how this happened, but this is Astaroth, the Time Devil. It's not that surprising when you think about it." Can you help us?" asked one of the guards. "Of course. I think Yuno's gonna explode with happiness. Well, as much as happiness as that still-faced idiot can get." "You sound like a very good friend," said Ciel. 50-50, said Asta, leaving the room a bit awkward because he's not joking. He and don't know each other that well. They didn't grow up together in this version. They just support each other in fights. Now we will go to the Gravito Belt 4 days later as we find Lake frozen before the body of the true leader of the elves, the true Licht. So I'm just gonna call him Paltry from now on, as he'd say, "I lost so much. It's like the world just wants us wiped from this planet, and yet the humans keep winning, and that monster of a human, even from here I can feel it, his power. Fauna and Vegel's bodies, their souls, they've been wiped from existence. They can't even be brought back normally." He then begins to seethe with anger, so much so that he cuts into his own hand with his clenched fist. "I'm sorry." He then hears the voice of someone very familiar and someone he does not like, and he would then see Asta take off his glasses as he turns to, see him. And he would then show his 6 eyes, and the elf is frozen as he only manages to gather a few light particles. "What are you doing here?" "I came here to set things straight," said Asta. Paltry knows he has no choice in whether or not he can, leave alive or even say anything, but Asta would actually fall to his knees as he would bow, much to the elf's surprise. "These eyes aren't just for decoration. I've seen the truth, and I'm sorry." "How much do you know? How did you even find out?" Standing straight, Asta would then put his glasses back on. "I'm Asta Satoru. That's the only answer you need. I have no reason to fight you. I want to help. Are you even giving me a choice? I mean, you can still sense your brethren. I mean, the fake ones, along with that one guy. But if I wanted to kill you, you wouldn't even have noticed when you died." Holding his hand out, Asta would then take out 8 magic stones from his pocket, and he would then yank the 4 others from Paltry. And as soon as they begin to fly in a circle around Asta, who says, "I think it's time we get some, justice, and the true reason for your demise. And I'm not asking this time. Everyone's gonna see it, by the way." But the nervous sweat, Paltry would then only hope that things can go well, and they then go to the Clover Kingdom. Upon the arrival in the city, Paltry, Raya, Asta, CL, and Nock, they all walk in. The guards are there as well, and the entire Spade Resistance, the people that wanted to fight against the Dark Triad, they're there as well. And the elves feel like throwing up by being surrounded by the very enemies that they always wanted to kill, but Asta says to calm down. We're here to squash trouble, not start it. No more fighting. Walking alongside the streets, they then gathered to a stage where all the captains except for Fulguna would be present, and people would gather there again, like a little meeting, and they were trying to listen to what was going to happen. Merlion was still taking Fulguna's place. I don't know why I feel like I have to mention that, but yeah. So a gathered crowd was waiting for its hero to arrive, but they're surprised by these guests coming, but they just go along with it, and there Ciel would then see Ralph and Yuno waiting, and the queen's eyes begin to water as she runs and hugs her son. Yuno was in disbelief, but just hugs her back. What's going on? Who are those people? People be asking. Getting on stage, the Spade Guards and Resistance then bound to their prince and hail him as the heir of the kingdom, which left everyone mumbling and just shocked, and the surrounding members are baffled. He's a prince? Then how the hell did he end up in the Forsaken Realm? Alright, calm down everyone, said Asta. He and Julius then step up as Asta would then summon the stones that gather into the air and begin to spin around, and Asta would then clap his hands together as he copies Marsh's magic while using the ability to control the infinity. A bountiful amount of magic then regathers, and he slowly will then create a portal from the stones, and from it would then seep a murky aura that sends a chill down everyone's spines. Alright, let's give you a form, said Asta. He would then snap and imbue the murky thing with his own magic, thus giving it form until Zagrid makes its appearance. A devil. It's a devil! The devil would then see all these people gathered up and grin from ear to ear. It was like a feast prepared for him, but then he realized, how am I here? I shouldn't even have a body yet. This is when he senses the presence of Asta, and he's then brought to his knees as he crashes onto the stage, with Asta then grabbing onto his head and squeezing it. How can a human overpower me so easily? The devil screamed. Shut up. Everyone is then shocked to see the creature become tight-lipped, as demanded by Asta, who smiles. Alright, let's get into it. He would then use Marsh's magic, and a giant scream would then show itself. Everything is dark at first, but everyone then starts to hear screams. Those screams then turn to crying and gagging and the gargling of blood, and flames were then shown as nobles would be laughing down at the elves they were robbing of mana. Everyone was left horrified as Raya would then ask, so this is your plan? To revel in our pain? No. Wait for it, said Asta. He squeezes Zagred's head even more, making him scream right as the scene would then show him melt the beast that melted with Lick, meld with Lick. A whole scene plays out, showing everything from the battle between Lumiere and Lick to the involvement of Zagrid, and everyone was at a loss for words, but as soon as everything ends, Asta crushes the head of Zagrid right as his body is then squashed by the infinity, as is his heart. What you all saw was real, said Asta. Denying it will only make things worse. Alright, these so-called terrorists, they're the people that you've robbed of their rightful things, their mana, our ancestors have, their home, their loved ones. A devil might have been involved, but our predecessors did not have the best intentions in mind. The nobles felt downright ashamed of their lineage at this point. Everything they ever bragged about was born from something stolen. It didn't even belong to them. They weren't special. They were just given something that never belonged to them at all. Julius then cleared the throat, saying, this is going to take a while to get over, but we can't do this for you. You must choose to change. This is a wake-up call. No commoners should have to endure abuse because of our lineage, which, rightfully so, is not even correct. I hope what you saw today will prove why. He would then turn and walk off, telling the captains and guests to follow him, and the captain then dismissed the knights and just everyone, telling them to just do whatever. And everyone was just like left in shock. I don't know how else to describe their reactions. They just saw a big turn of events, all played out on the screen. We then find Alekdor walking the corridors of the castle, and he's heading out when he's then met by Yuno walking past him, while accompanied by Klaus and Mimosa, and they were just still laughing, hanging out. For them, nothing had changed. They were still friends. What have I been doing? Thought Alekdor. Meanwhile, a meeting would then be taking place between Asta, Ciel, Raya, Paltry, as well as the captains, but Asta was very relaxed about it. Alright, let's get into some issues, okay? Yeah, you're definitely way too relaxed about this, said Yami. What? I did all the work. You think it's easy freeing a whole country? For you? Yes, said Julius, and Asta would then say not to flatter him, before then getting a bit serious. We don't expect forgiveness. The greed from us humans was still there. The devil may have taken advantage of it, but yeah, it is what it is. The rest is up to you. I'm not going to interfere anymore. He would then stand and start walking. Be civil, though. I don't want to step in. The doors would then close behind him, and Nozal then saying, I think compensations are in order. Very much so. Yeah, said Raya. The door was then opened at this point, cutting him off, as Asta would then run back in. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I forgot to say, don't worry, we can bring back your friends, even the 2 other ones that were killed. Standing, the elves would then ask if he's being serious, and Asta would say, of course. I need help, though. You can't use reincarnation. It's not going to work. Okay, bye, for real this time. He would then whip away as Ciel then asks, is he usually so rambunctious? That kid used to get mad when you looked at him wrong, said Yami. Imagine if he got his true powers when he arrived right at the capital, said Dorothy. They all felt a shiver at the thought of this, because that would be terrifying. Even the elves, because they would have been killed on the spot. They wouldn't have been spared at all. But now the atmosphere was less cluttered, and Asta did rile them up a little bit. He was a little bit more positive, and the elves then knew that they could get their friends back, so they really wanted to get into everything. Asta, meanwhile, takes a walk out onto the streets where he's met by the boys from the orphanage and the kids, and he's also met by bows and hellos, but also he saw resentment in everyone's eyes, which is understandable. The commoners, meanwhile, feel happy that for once these nobles understand that they weren't you ain't. At least the ones that were good people were still liked by the commoners, but still, it was just a lot. And taking time of his day, Asta would once again play with the kids, and as he was approached by Teresa, who would then say hello, and Asta would say, "Oh, hey, ma'am. Good morning, Asta. Quite the announcement, huh?" "Huh? What announcement?" asked Marie. "Yeah, what? Did you hit someone?" "Why is that the first thing you assume?" yells Asta, as they all laugh, saying that he can be a little scary, and the old maids would then laugh, telling the kids that she wants a moment with Asta. As they run off to go play elsewhere, Teresa and Asta would then sit at a bench. "I know about the cleansing," she would say. Asta is surprised and asks, finally, who were the mages who caused the massacre and if they were still alive. "I'm sorry, I don't know. I was one of the mages brought to the scene for the healing. You can guess why I joined the church." "It's never easy, is it?" said Asta. "Tell me about it." "But this scene," said Teresa, "the one that you created right before my eyes, this change in the kingdom, your parents would be proud of it." But the chocolate, Asta would then say, "My dad would probably try to run in for a hug at this point, but he'd trip over, and my mom had to come over and help him up and scold him a little bit, and then she'd go too far. I never even went back for the bodies, you know. Even if I wanted to, I can't even have a proper burial." The sister can feel the young boy's pain, but feels it is not her place to say much, so she would just sit and give him a chance to talk about everything, and he would just reminisce, he just wished that he could show his parents all of this that he has accomplished. And when he's done, he then heads out to somewhere else. And I'm going to enter somewhere I've never taken you, the Devil Realm. In the devil-ridden, dark and murky world, we then see the devils rioting and killing one another like every other day, but today it was for a specific reason. It was because they could no longer torment the humans above. It is because of them that cursed beasts came into the world. Their very hate made those beasts above, and they felt the despair of the humans, which filled them with euphoria and just ecstasy for years, but that euphoria has disappeared. And while they wallow in anger, we will then scope out the entire devil realm. In my own speculation, it will be a lawless area with only 3 gigantic towers made for the 3 kings, the strongest devils. But there are also many territories where devils will just be in power, like mid-ranking devils or high-ranking devils. And all of those devils, and specifically the 3 kings, will just be, in their homes chilling. When one of them begins to shake, Lucifer looks at his own hand and finds that he cannot stop shivering. Impossible. It can't be. Standing from his throne, he then flies out of his castle and looks to see an explosion of purple lightning tear up their world from the gate to the human world, until he then turns and sees his castle crumble. Looking back at the gate, he would then rage, wondering, how is this possible? At the gates will be Asta walking forward with a smile. "Come on, I thought devils were supposed to be strong." Pulling back his fist, the boy then swings and releases a gigantic purple wave that the devils are hit by and disintegrated by, right as Lucifer will then appear right in front of him. It will then force his authority onto the boy. However, Asta stood standing still, leaving the king shocked because this was his true form and true power. But as he increases the pressure, the ground would just begin to crack around them to show Asta's infinity dome refracting back and forth. "You done?" asked Asta, as he then disappeared and appeared right behind the king, and he would then grab onto his horn before he then throws him to the skies. But as he goes to the skies, he then hits the barrier between the human world and their world, right as Asta appears right before him and elbows him in the chest. Lucifer will then spew blood right as Asta would then begin to beat him over and over while showing a huge grin. From below, the surviving devils would then shiver at the sight of this one human who came out of nowhere. It shouldn't be possible to come to the devil realm. It's literally impossible. But this man just waltzed in here and started destroying them until he would then sever their king in half with his katana. As Lucifer begins to stop existing, Asta would then look down at the devils while he readies his mana and raises his sword. "No more devils, no more beasts." Many high-ranking devils then approached by flight, as well as Megicula and Beelzebub, while the blood devil would then yell, "You impertinent human." She releases her most powerful attack, as do all of them, only for it to be disintegrated by Asta, who smirks and says, "Above the heavens and earth, I alone am the honored one. The rest of you can off." He swings down with all his strength, and a gigantic explosion of mana would then blind the creatures, who see their lives flash before their eyes, right as they are then erased from existence. That day, the entire half of the devil world was destroyed. Mind you, in this version of events, I'm making the devil world as big as Earth itself. It's just kind of underground, like a mirror version of Earth, but much darker. So Asta just wanted to have some fun that day. He destroyed an entire half, an entire world. And he also came to the Devil World on a whim. Yeah, there was no way I was gonna pass up a finale like that. Now we're gonna time skip 2 years. Not surprisingly, Astaroth, who was hiding within Julius, if you didn't know, I'm sorry, spoilers, was killed by Asta, but he and Julius chose to never tell anyone about that incident. The discovery of the Devil Realm from Asta would make humans more motivated to get stronger. People go down there themselves and start hunting and fighting and get stronger. And nobles, after learning that their ancestors committed freaking genocide for their powers, chill the hell out and work with commoners. They get very strong, like I said, also to work together, and that murky energy the devils used to release beasts above was something that Asta converted into a technique that he taught to kids who lost their magic, the ones that were taking magic from by Borrow and Age, but also people just started learning in general. The Blood Bulls would reign as the strongest squad after they finally get strong and show that they have the most unique magic out of everyone in the entire kingdom. And Asta was given the status of the most important noble under the king. However, everyone knows who the real king is. It's Julius, but even then, like Asta is just like the top dog. And just because it makes sense, Asta creates a school in the Forbidden Realm, but it is no longer called the Forbidden Realm. There are no more Forbidden Realms or Forsaken Realms. It is a territory that Asta completely took over and turned into an utopia. And as for Nur and Lumiere, they get their final goodbye, so you don't have to worry about that. They're still with the Black Bulls, and all that stuff happens. Return with his mother, who now, because she had lost the curse implanted on her, gradually aged more normally. The elves were returned and went to their own forests, and they still didn't like humans, but they've learned that not every human is evil, like Asta, who basically just brought them out of all their despair. He literally changed their entire lives and sanctioned them. Is crowned as king, so he does become the Wizard King of sorts, but we will continue this with Asta's school. As Asta walks the courtyard, students would pass by when he hears something and dodges to the right as the students then sent flying past them, but he then catches the student with his infinity as he asks what's going on. The kid would then point forward as he would then point to a girl who had just punched him, and she'd be covered in rags and surrounded by all the boy's knocked out friends. Ooh, not bad, said Asta as he dropped the kid he was holding before then walking to the girl. You don't go to the school, do you? I strolled up here because I heard you got free food. With a smirk, Asta would then say to follow him, right as Mimosa would then run out. Asta, what happened? Sorry, it seems that they were bothering this little lady. With a sigh, Mimosa would then activate her magic while scolding the boys and begins to heal all of them, leaving the students amazed. Asta, meanwhile, would then drag the girl over outside for some food, and they just eat by the doorstep. And as she bit into a rice ball, she then thanked him. I'm Maki, by the way. Maki, eh? How did you do what you just did? You clearly don't have any magic. Standing up, she then says that she might not have any magic, but she's super strong. But the punch she would then crack the ground below and cause shaking, right as Asta would then close up and take off his blindfold. He has a blindfold now, leaving the girl surprised. By the way, how can you see with that on all the time? Oh, I see too much, I gotta hold myself back somehow or I might explode. With a nervous sweat, the girl then thought, so this is the strongest sorcerer. Even without magic, I can tell he's just monstrous. Asta is called a sorcerer, not a mage, because the things he does are just insane. They don't know how else to call it, but just sorcery sometimes, because it's just out of the bounds of human limitations. Now, as she takes a look into his 6 eyes, Asta would then smile. Leave everything to me, I'll turn you into a fighting machine. While excited by the prospect of being trained by the strongest in the entire world, though, she asks what Asta's grimoire looks like. I heard you have 6 leaves. Putting back on his blindfold, Asta would then take out his grimoire and shows his 6-leaf clover, which had been dubbed the Heavenly Tome. They say that in the 4th leaf lies good luck and good days. In the 5th lies a devil, said Asta. Then what's in the 6th? asked Maki. With a smirk, Asta would then say, a god. I will end this series off here. Much like you, I am very sad to be letting this series go, but it had a good run, a very fast run, might I add. But hey, this is probably the smoothest a series has ever gone for me. I've never posted back to back like this before. So thank you all so much for the support. Now you can feel free to just watch everything slowly. There's no more surprises. This is truly the end. You get to make out whatever you think could have happened. But I've put up all the possibilities I think already happened, and just have fun. Go watch the playlist. Again, I'll try to do the full story. It depends. If it gets too bothersome, I probably won't do it, and I still just need your opinions. Tell me down below if you really want it or not. Now, I will go finish the Jinchuriki series and finally post the freaking, One Piece series, because I'm close to finishing it. This is the final battle coming up. Alright, peace. I'm gone.